Broad Street Review podcast, Philly's online hub for arts, culture, and commentary, where art and ideas meet. I am your host, Darnell Radford. On today's podcast, The Antidote's Michael Osinski talks about the unapologetic love letter to David Lynch Red Lodge, Montana, part of the 2019 Fringe Arts Festival. Here is my interview with Michael Osinski. I'm your host, Darnell Radford, and today I'm in Rep Radio Studio D, I guess. This is the renovated studio. So this used to be Studio C. It's Studio D now. If you're following along, you probably know exactly where we are. But I'm back here in Philadelphia. So, pack up one Fringe and get ready for another. So we're back from Edinburgh and here from Philadelphia for Fringe Arts. And today I'm here with an old friend in the sense of it's been a long time, but not in age. I'm here with Michael Osinski. Michael, welcome to Rep Radio.
Thanks so much. Glad to be here.
I was just thinking about, one of the earliest jobs I had was with you in Flashpoint. And I don't know how I just missed the work that you brought back to Philly. We haven't had a chance to sit and chat.
I know. Was that 12, 11 years ago or something like that?
Yes, it was a long time.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you've stepped out and came back, and you're still bringing art to us here. So welcome.
Thanks. Thanks so much.
Yeah, so Red Lodge, Montana is probably the first production I added to my Fringe Arts coverage list. And the concept of this really pulled me in. I thought it'd be really great to have a conversation here, and I really hope our listeners are as intrigued as I am about this. So
great.
We'll get into it.
Okay.
But first, this production is under the umbrella of The Antidote. Mm-hmm. And so if you could tell me a little bit about The Antidote.
Sure. I mean, The Antidote is essentially my producing umbrella. I've told you this before, but I'll say it again. I like describing it as sort of the 9 Inch Nails of theater. Mm-hmm. 9 Inch Nails is Trent Reznor and whoever he wants to collaborate with on a project. Yeah. The Antidote is essentially me and my collaborators. But there is a specific mission that underlies everything that we make. This idea of sort of taking classical text or classical stories and finding a way to sort of smash them together with contemporary pop culture. It's something that with maybe one exception, it's something that drives all the work that we've made. And not necessarily smashing them together in the sense of let's move Hamlet into 2019 and put them in modern dress, but a little bit more, or rather a little less linear, a little less direct than that. So yeah, that's essentially what The Antidote does and the sort of work we're trying to make.
Cool. And there were a couple of productions that people may have heard of that were products of The Antidote. The Hamlet Project and Homo Andronicus.
Homo Andronicus, yeah. Those were two productions that we actually did in Chicago because they were coming right off of me being in grad school in Chicago out there. And Hamlet Project was the first, sort of smashing together Hamlet with daytime television talk shows and also with pharmaceutical commercials, with online blogs and music videos. Sort of this I described it as if you were watching television and you kept changing the channel and Hamlet was on every single channel, but the format was very different. Yeah. That was kind of what it was like. Homo Andronicus was the second production, and that was sort of taking Titus Andronicus, and smashing that up with a book called Going Clear, which you may be familiar with, sort of a nonfiction real page turner about the Church of Scientology, as well as a couple other elements. There were some RuPaul's Drag Race elements in there as well. I mean, there's something fun in taking a work that seems so classic, like something that people put up on a pedestal, and smashing it up with something that seems entirely unlikely. And I'm not the only artist that does that. I mean, like, there are plenty of experimental groups across the country that sort of follow that formula. I like to think that there's something a little unique about the way that the work we make comes out.
Yeah. Well, it's the thought that sometimes the message we're trying to deliver isn't a new message. Mm-hmm. We're just figuring out a new way to deliver that message.
Yeah.
As we are sitting in a museum.
Exactly.
We're constantly trying to find a interesting way to get you back in here to see stuff that has not changed.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So here we are, 2019, Red Lodge, Montana. Mm-hmm. Tell us about it.
Red Lodge, Montana is essentially an unapologetic love letter to David Lynch. I've been describing it to people as hopefully the experience will be like walking through a live-action nightmare. It stemmed from me watching the most recent season of Twin Peaks and just being so inspired to create something that had the same sort of effect that series had on me.
Yeah.
And I realized that I'd never actually made anything that really tried to embrace the style of David Lynch as a filmmaker, but in a theatrical form. I'm not sure how much I want to say directly about the plot. We've released some videos leading up to the show that will hopefully fill people in on who these characters are and what's going on. But I mean, it's essentially like. Imagine a bunch of Philadelphia artists trying to create a send-up of Twin Peaks, the famous David Lynch television series from when it was on ABC, CBS. I'm not sure what it was on. But what happens when a group of artists try to make that happen? And the answer is this sort of nightmare world that we're creating.
And I feel like we think about, because we're here in the festival, it's Fringe. Mm-hmm. We're thinking about Fringe and sort of cult of followings or cult classics, and they've always sort of had a niche following, mm-hmm. but now that we are sort of embracing our niche interests, mm-hmm. They are sort of taking more of a center stage kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But in your opinion, and being a fan, like what is the draw of David Lynch? Like, what is it about his aesthetic that is so interesting and so compelling to kind of emulate or sort of make into your own sort of thing?
I mean, I'm always fascinated by any artist or drawn to any artist who who notices the bright, shiny veneer on something and attempts to dig deeper and see what's underneath all that. And I mean, that is in pretty much all of his work. Sometimes it feels like his work is taking place in the 1950s because, that's apparently when America was like super and happy and great and whatever. But, there was a lot going on underneath that mm-hmm. wasn't so great.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm always drawn to that, and that's in all of his work. I think there's a certain quirkiness about the characters, whether that be in like a humorous and uplifting way or like a sort of oddball kind of way. Aside from that, I think there's also this willingness to confront dark material and the willingness to tell a story primarily through visuals. I mean, most of his work, if you were to try and like chart out the plot of what's happening, I mean, with the exception of some of his earlier stuff, like Blue Velvet has a pretty linear plot that you can follow. But a lot of his movies and a lot of his work, it feels like he uses this sort of circuitous storytelling where he's given you all the pieces to the puzzle, but it's a very difficult puzzle, and he hasn't given you any instructions whatsoever. You have to kind of figure that out yourself. It's sort of like if you were to be given like a jigsaw puzzle, but the puzzle is entirely like it's a puzzle of all blue. Like, what do you do in that respect? How do you put the pieces together? It takes a little bit longer. You have to sort of reconfigure your brain and sort of alter your perspective a little bit in order to figure out what is going on. And that's something that I always appreciate, and that's something that whenever I make new work, I like to think of it as I'm making a theatrical puzzle.
Yeah, I feel like now, or at least maybe I'm just in the right place in life and like community. I feel like we have more of an interest in unpacking things now. You know, like I'll watch a TV series that the first season is essentially a pilot.
Yeah.
And, you know, sort of unfolds, you know, this entire world that we're going to be existing in, and maybe doesn't reach like the core plot of the series until we get to the end. And some people love that. Some people are 30 minutes into the first episode and they're going, I got lost and I couldn't figure it out. And then usually the response after that is, you got to give it like 3 episodes. If you're not in by the 3rd episode, watch one more episode.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
I got it.
And that's something that I think we've struggled with as we've been making it is, I mean, David Lynch often moves very slow. He's not afraid to linger on a shot for a long amount of time, or to let something go on a little bit longer than you would expect anyone to.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason why we've also released these videos leading up to the show. Not only because we like the idea of it being like this like weekly thing that gets released, kind of like, you know, when the new episode of Twin Peaks was going to come out, like we sort of try and dangle the carrot a little bit so people will follow.
Yeah.
But also we just had so much material that we had created that felt like it was just too much for a show. It was too much to put into the live performance of it. So if we're going to move at the pace that we want to move at, which is not a very quick one. So I think we've tried to sort of work around that, but yeah, you're right. I mean, there's not always that instant gratification that comes from entertainment, and it depends on how well they can catch you within the first few moments.
Yeah.
Even if not a lot is happening, if you're still intrigued enough to keep on going and to dig deeper.
I love the thought of like supplemental information in a piece. Like there are some companies who do a great job of really sort of making all of their dramaturgy available to potential theater goers, and not just saying like, here's the show and here's my director's note. You can actually come over here for some supplemental content. There's some additional things here. But whenever I see like and we have some videos, my first thought is like, was this a part of the plan, or did it just become this byproduct? It's like we have these scraps that we've left, you know, to craft our story, but now we have these which are still very valuable. Do we add them, or were they always a part of the process?
I don't remember at what point the videos became part of it. I mean, it wasn't a last minute thing. I mean, we filmed these in May and June, and we had been planning for them earlier this year. I don't remember when we decided that would be a good idea. May have been when we sort of laid all our index cards out on the ground and realized that we had, you know, a 3.5 hour play. We like couldn't do that. So yeah, I'm not sure. I think it works with the format, especially since we're not shooting them as if they are what's the word I'm looking for? We're not shooting them as if they are just sort of like throwaways. Like we've put some time into the editing and the storyboarding, and Dan Eisen actually is the one who's been doing all the filming and editing and putting, like, adding the score and editing the sound and everything, and he's been great at making this look good. Because a lot of times when you make video for something like a Fringe show, like it's what can I put together with my handy little film editing program on my phone or tablet. But he's been great at making it look like it. I mean, it really is a part of the piece. Yeah. And we're putting it up on our website, and we're sharing it on social media, and anyone who buys a ticket to the show, they'll get an email from us just confirming, like, hey, looking forward to seeing you on this date. Have you watched the videos? Because you should probably watch the videos. People will still be able to appreciate the show without having watched them, but I feel like we really want them to watch them too. Yeah. And I don't know if they're necessarily dramaturgy so much as part of the story. There's not going to be a director's note for the show, because David Lynch never gives you a director's note. Yeah, he never explains it. We know what we've made and why we've made it, and I have my own interpretation of the whole point of the thing. But I've been shying away from sharing the exact point, at least the one in my brain, because I don't want to make people look at the piece from only that one perspective. Because I'm very curious. I mean, that's part of the fun of creating something new, especially like devising it with a group, is you make this thing that's a little weird, doesn't quite follow the norms of storytelling. What are people going to take away from it? And there's immense value in not telling them how to think about it ahead of time. You get so much better feedback if you don't prescribe how they should watch it.
So how do we get from page to stage? I'm thinking of like, well, it's not a traditional stage.
Well,
is it?
It counts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an unconventional space we're using too. So,
how do we get from page to unconventional space? Talk a little bit about the process of crafting this piece, because we are thinking about Fringe, and a lot of this is like, I got an idea in January. Yeah. And in March, we're like, were we running with this idea or what?
This piece is about 2 years in the making, actually. I assembled a bunch of people, a bunch of David Lynch enthusiasts who are also theater artists to make something. I started with Amanda Schoonover, Josh Hitchens, and Kelly McCaughan were the first ones I approached, because I knew they were David Lynch fans. And I said, hey, I'd like to make this thing. Do you know other people who like David Lynch? Would you like to just sort of play around? Let's see what we make. And so eventually we became a team of, not including me, it was a cast of 8. And the initial prompts were to sort of create characters based off of your favorite David Lynch character, sort of mixed together with a character from this play that we all read called Bus Stop by William Inge, which I think it's kind of funny now to look back and realize that we started with an early 20th century American drama as our inspiration, which, by the way, if you ever read that play, it is possible to do a David Lynch version of Bus Stop. Like, the play itself feels like it would naturally slide into his world. But anyway, that's where we started, sort of creating these people who are a hybrid of David Lynch and William Inge, and then whatever sort of personal things they brought to the table. And we slowly created the mythology of this town, which we didn't know the name of it initially. We were originally going to call the piece Somewhere in Montana. And then over time, I structured some improvs to get these characters interacting with each other in locations that we felt like they belonged in after they'd created their characters. Some of those improvs turned into scenes. Some of those improvs prompted further improvs to clarify things. Some scenes got rewritten. Some brand new scenes got written over time without any sort of improv. So we've just been sort of putting together all the material in a way that makes sense to us. Originally, I think we were going to be going for something a bit more realistic, and then midway through the process, we kind of threw a wrench into the works and tried to make it a little less linear in the narrative. We had all watched the movie Inland Empire, which is David Lynch's 3-hour-long, digitally filmed, movie. I guess the only word I can think of for it. I mean, it's hard to watch in the sense that it's this one character's journey, but there is no explanation whatsoever for why one thing leads to the next. And there was something kind of intriguing about that. And there was something kind of intriguing about the subject matter of the movie. So we sort of, moved some things around. And around that time was when I think I knew that we wanted to do this in a less conventional space where audiences could sort of wander from scene to scene. I think they're not going to be able to wander in the sense of like lots of scenes are happening at once and they can move around the space at will, but they will be traveling through this room from scene to scene, experiencing what we've made. So that's how we put it all together. There's a little bit from everybody in the piece. I've just tried to sort of steer it in a specific direction, which has been tricky because there's not to try and apply normal logic to a piece like this is tricky. Someone says like, well, what if I did this? And I have to say, well, for some reason it doesn't feel like it belongs to the world of this play. And then yet someone else come up with some kooky, crazy idea that seems random. And I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So like what makes sense, what is cohesive for a world like this it's hard to pin down.
So, if you do, you look up and you've got 3 hours of content here. Mm-hmm. Definitely more than you want to present in a presentation. So what do you do with all that extra?
I mean, some of it is just fuel for the characters. I mean, some of the scenes. I mean, a lot of these characters have pretty extensive backstories, and it's very possible that audience members might not pick up on a lot of the stuff. But there's a rich history to each of these characters, and that has helped to inform their decisions and inform who they have scenes with and what their interactions are with everyone in the town of Red Lodge, Montana. So some of it just like is on the cutting floor. No one's going to see it. No one's going to learn about it. Some of it we've turned into these videos, and then some of it has just made its way into the play. I mean, I feel like part of any devising or just creative processes is killing your darlings. You may love something so much and you just love that scene that these three people do, and it's so funny and it's so full of life, and it has no place in your piece whatsoever.
It could be so complex, but it informs something more simple and palatable. You end up using that instead.
Yeah, you have to figure out what are the necessary components. What do we absolutely need in order to tell the story, and what can we do without? And what would we love to have, but it will be a better journey for the audience if we didn't include it. So, I mean, we've added things back. We've taken a lot of things out. I mean, right now, I don't know what our runtime is right now, but we've said in the guide it's going to be 80 to 85 minutes. I think that will actually end up being what the runtime is. Yeah.
Just a runtime, a lot.
No, it's going to be because we have one 10 o'clock show, a 10 p.m. show on Friday the 13th, of course.
Oh, cool. I just realized that there is a Friday the 13th coming up.
Oh yeah, and we're doing a late night show. We're doing a 10 o'clock, and the show has to run under 90 minutes because we have to vacate our space by midnight. So no, the show will be 80 to 85 minutes. Cool. That's my guarantee.
Have you had the opportunity to present in front of an audience yet? And what type of experience can the audience expect?
With this piece, no one has seen anything other than the videos that we've made. I mean, at this point, we've released 2 of our prologue videos. There are 2 more coming. So I have no idea how an audience is going to receive this, and that's both exhilarating and terrifying at the same time. But what the audience can experience, I mean, I think that there's the videos set them up to think that they're going to see a send-up of Twin Peaks, and that's going to be very, very influenced by that. When they show up in it's what used to be the girls' locker room at Bach in South Philly. So it's a room that things have been removed from that room, but things have not been totally refurbished yet. So it feels kind of like this open, empty space. And we're sort of setting it up that when they show up, it's like they're watching kind of an open rehearsal of the final scene of what we're going to film.
Yeah.
But then something happens and the world dramatically changes. And then, I mean, I've been saying it hopefully will feel like they are walking through a nightmare. I mean, because nightmare logic is different from everyday logic. I mean, in your dreams, people appear who you haven't seen in years and have conversations with you about things that you never thought you would talk to them about. So we've tried to embrace that. It will be a show that there will be chances to sit and watch scenes that are happening, but there will often be times where people will be sort of walking through the space and standing to watch a short scene. But yeah, it's I don't want to say it's like a haunted house because that seems too reductive. But like that's the closest thing I can think of in terms of like the physical experience.
Yeah,
it's like, you know, a haunted house with narrative and you know, the logic of a David Lynch world. So yeah, content warnings abound on this one. Yes.
So of course it's assumed that you do not need to have a foundation of David Lynch in his catalog to be able to experience this piece. Of course.
Yes. Yeah.
But if there are people out there who may not be as well versed in David Lynch's work, can you suggest a starting point?
I mean, I would always suggest starting with Twin Peaks, just because I think it's the most accessible of his works. It is certainly the most plot-driven, yet it does contain, you know, elements where you have no idea what's going on, but like those moments where you have no idea what's going on, it still feels like there's a logic that governs that world, so it doesn't feel like it doesn't belong in the show. I mean, I think Twin Peaks is available. I think it's on Netflix. So people, I mean, that would be what I would always encourage people to start with, because there's that, you know, Twin Peaks is also a mystery, and there is a mystery at the heart of what we've made. There is a murder in this town of Red Lodge, Montana. That sometimes I forget that there is that element because we've embraced the weird world so much that there is a murder at the start of the whole story. In the case of Twin Peaks, it's who killed Laura Palmer. In the case, well, I don't want to say too much about what it is in ours. Yeah. But you know that's probably the most palatable. Next, I think I would probably go with Blue Velvet. Again, because there's a plot there. I would say it's decidedly more disturbing than Twin Peaks. But beyond that, I mean, if you want to embrace, I mean, we've embraced a lot of his works. I mean, there is inspiration throughout the whole thing. There's elements of Lost Highway. There's elements of Mulholland Drive. There's elements of Inland Empire. I feel like there's no Eraserhead, which was his first film. Yeah. And there's, you know, Twin Peaks everywhere, all over the piece. But I would say start with Twin Peaks because Kyle MacLachlan as Agent Cooper is just so darn charming, and he's the anchor throughout that whole show.
When I mentioned this piece to a friend, we started talking about Mulholland Drive and how I had seen that in college. It was in I guess it was like a early film class that was sort of like breaking down how he was telling this story, and I just remember that being like, what? How do you with the yeah, I mean, but it was like later and I had to go watch it again and I was like, wow, this was a great option to have in class for us to unpack like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I love seeing things where I don't immediately know what's going on.
Yeah.
And where I'm invested enough that I want to try and figure it out. So that after I've seen it, whether it be a movie or a play or some other sort of work of art, that I'm done watching it and I'm like, okay, what happened? I want to try and put the pieces together. And I think, you know, almost every movie that he's made, like, you mostly know what's going on, but you want to put together every last piece.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, I hope people have the same experience when they see Red Lodge, Montana.
Cool. What was it like to be in the room with, you know, wildly creative David Lynch fans? As your collaborators.
I mean, it's been a very different process. I mean, I've devised a bunch of stuff at this point, but when you give artists the permission to to sort of abandon narrative logic. And I feel like a lot of times we have this pressure to like get it right, to tell the story the right way, to make sure things are abundantly clear. And when you give artists the permission to create something that maybe isn't super clear, but that is inspired, then they made some of the improvs. That's why we had so much material. Some of the improv scenes that they made were so funny and weird and disturbing that we just had so many things we could pull from to make the piece come together. I sort of look at directing a piece like this is very different from directing an existing play. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm still learning what the piece is. Now that we're putting all the pieces together in a specific order, I find myself asking, wait a minute, do we need this here? Does this need more of something? Because I'm trying to be the audience member. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how much do we need to give them and how much can we just leave up to for them to imagine and them to figure out. So it was fun to meet these people. I sort of introduced a prompt and they created the people and they created the situations. I just had to sort of piece it all together in a way that made sense, with the word sense in quotation marks.
Cool. So as we are having this conversation, we've got a little bit of time before your opening night. How can our listeners continue to follow this process, and how can they support you as you reach the opening day?
Well, they can definitely follow the Antidote on all social media platforms. On Instagram, we're actually Find the Antidote is our name. If anyone follows that, you'll get there's all sorts of content. We've been creating content for it for the past few months. Same on Facebook. We're on Twitter, but I don't really use it, so don't worry about that. They can, if they go to our website, findtheantidote.org, every week that we post a new video, they can access it there. And there's a link to access all the videos, so if they want to watch them all in order and prepare for the show, they can do that. Of course, they can buy a ticket to Red Lodge, Montana, yes. And the other thing they can do on the Fringe Arts app, if they're interested, they can like the Antidote. That will help us gain more visibility, so other people will know about the show. And of course, we always take donations. We are a fiscally sponsored organization by Fractured Atlas, so any donations made to the Antidote are tax deductible to the fullest extent by law, whatever the exact phrasing is. It's on the website. We do have some plans for next year. This past June at Solo Fest here in Philly, we created a show with my friend Tyler Esselman from Chicago, who this one-person show called The Celebrity Guide to Mental Health and Wellness, which is a 75-minute, highly participatory show about mental health and well-being. Yeah. And we're planning on doing that in Chicago and then taking it to Fringe Festivals, a few Fringe Festivals next year. Don't know where. We're going to apply to a bunch and see who takes us, but... but yeah, but definitely follow us on social media because we've been generating so much content. We want people to actually see the stuff we've made.
Cool. The production is Red Lodge, Montana. It is presented as part of the Fringe Arts Festival. You can find information by going to findtheantidote.org, or you can go to fringearts.com and search for it. You can go into the app and click on was it a like or a favorite? So
yeah, there's a little thumbs up thing.
Yeah, the thumbs up, so it shows up in the list there, and you can also contribute. We'll have all those links in here for this. Michael, thanks for taking the time to come chat with me. This was real interesting. I'm excited to experience this piece. September 7th through the 15th as part of the festival.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Did we miss anything?
Can't think of anything. Yeah. I don't want to give too much away. So
we're keeping it all a secret.
Yeah.
Find the Antidote.
Exactly. Yeah.
Red Lodge, Montana. Thanks for chatting. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
head on over to our website at www.broadstreetreview.com and click Get Involved at the top. While you're there, help keep us running and click Contribute to find out how. Connect with us on social media, on Facebook and Twitter at Broad Street Review. Thank you for helping to keep the conversation going.